of liberation for black souls, for the oppressed. We will not let it go. We will continue this faith because you will make it possible for us.
My colleagues who has made today, it is never easy to come back to these things, and we have to always appreciate its courage to dare speak the truth and dare sit next to the side of justice. So we must appreciate us here. But most importantly, we must, as Pastor has said, we must not give up because we feel that we are not enough, or we feel that many people are not hearing our message. There is beauty in people standing up, as few up for what they think is right. So I think we must hang in there, and we must understand it will take time. It will take time for us even to give ourselves wholeheartedly to the idea.
When we sing this song, there's some songs that you people do that remind me of our president somehow. So is this a fancy song or a fancy song? Somehow it reminds me of our president. And also, when we sing this song, I can tell that there is undertones. So what I'm going to talk about in this month is my own experience, and some of it has got to do with our kind of religion as Christians. So, just to show you the type of people that we ourselves that feel burdened by the burden of being black, the kind of people that we are going to have to interact with, especially if we are unchurched, those of us that are unchurched. Can get me? I want to describe some of the things that I'm going to talk about, describe the kind of mentality that there is in the church. And the people in the church are the people that we are going to have to interact with, those of us that feel burdened by black pain. So this is what's going on. So I once went to a church when I was younger that our mother forced us into. My mother is very stubborn, my mother is very stern. My mother has raised lots of children alone by herself, whilst my father was out and about in Cape Town or Johannesburg. As many of us, it is the story. So my mother, when she has determined that this is what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done. So she forced us into this church because she perceived that if you go, in fact, the whole group of people that went to that church perceived that if you go to this church, all of your problems will just vanish. So, on a lighter note, the tradition is such that when you sing, you clap hands, but you don't just clap hands, but you clap them 3 times. Da, da, da. All the songs, da, da, da. And if you clap somehow in a different rhythm, they look at you as though you're possessed by, honestly, my brother there doesn't really testify to this. Those are the kinds of people that we have to interact with. My husband has some research in his head that says that the whole population of South Africa is made up of 12% of people that go to charismatic and Pentecostal churches. This excludes mainline churches, Anglican Church, Methodist Church. It excludes those. 12 million people, not 12%, 12 million people go to charismatic and Pentecostal churches. Those are the people I'm talking about. That if you go to their church and clap, not 1, 2, 3, that's the rhythm, they will think that you're possessed. Because that's how they were given that kind of message by their leader. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, even this song that we sing here, I feel like if I clap outside of it's like I am possessed by Satan or demon. Are people allowed to clap outside of
Yes. Yes.
Because I always feel like when the spirit's moving, I want to clap outside of this. But then I somehow feel it's not acceptable. This is not how we do it. Anyway, but those are the people that I think I'm hoping that we move from the same premise that here we're using Christianity and the Bible as a premise from which we move. It may change as hopefully the Lord reveals more things to us. Né? So I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to refer to it. I know we've got a problem with the Bible. I'm open to us interrogating it. So, as I have said this, I made the same presentation at church for the whole month of August, the different presentations. So I'm going to go over it and with you and hope that we learn something together. I began the message by saying to the people at church that I wish I could take you to some massage parlor or something. Don't you tell me in English. I was thinking about it and I thought okay? It's not traditional No, it's not traditional I don't know what it is. But basically, it's a meeting of people that are possessed by some spirit and they sing and dance, but they don't necessarily heal. I don't think Michael had necessarily healed. They're not traditional healers. But this is what I find in Christianity today, that people go to church not to listen or learn anything, but they just want to be there and have the same feelings that they have when they go to a massage parlor or when they go to Islam. My husband usually says that the church today is more like no, the people that sell and drug dealers. Yes, I want us, especially those that are unchurched, even those that are churched amongst us, to realize the type of people that we are going to have to go and spread the message to. That this kind of talk that we have here is not well received by them, because when they go to church, they want to feel like they've been to a drug dealer. We're giving them something so that they can be high, especially on a Sunday. And then on a Monday, they suffer from some terrible withdrawal. That's how our churches are. But when we are inside, we don't realize this. So this is how I started off my talk, because I felt the pressure that people wanted me to say something else, not this. This is too real for them. Okay? I mean, I have been to UCT at some point, and my story of UCT has not been glorious at all. But do you want to understand?
Yes.
It's just that I was worried about the picture. It's a little...
The colors.
So, you can see.
I can see
You can see.
yellow bulb.
My story at UCT has not been a flowery one. I have failed UCT twice. What was supposed to take years took 8 years for me. So be encouraged if there's any of you that are struggling. So at one point in 2001, I could not stay in rest because I had failed the TEPSA, NESPAS, all of those things. So I had to stay at home and panic, so I had to travel by train. Once or twice a week, I had to come to medical school to do one course in the whole year. So at training, there's services that continue, describing the kind of people that you find in the trains, in the churches, that we call Christians, that we have to reach with the message of black pain and the emancipation of black people. So they would sing and sing and sing, and then this woman would say, "Woo, that's my pain. Now I feel well." That's why black people take their burden and their unwellness, they take it to church, and then they sing and sing and sing. And then when they finish singing, they say, "Now I feel well." But we know that that wellness lasts for a few seconds. Once that song is gone and then they reach well, now they start to feel unwell again. Those are the people that we don't have to try and penetrate with the message of the total freedom of black people. Now today, I want to talk about the disorganized state of black lives. Because especially the people here in this room, in 2 years or in a year's time, we're going to go and work and be captains of the industries. But I find that when we come here, we tend to forget where we come from. And we have different values, especially when we reach the workplace. So as I said, that our religion, especially as Christians, is more about emotions, little about thinking. I remember at our church where we live in Kaibicha, at one point, we went to the pastor and said to the pastor, "Pastor, there is something wrong in this church." "How?" "Congregants, what's wrong? We don't cry here anymore." That's what we told them. I said, "Pastor, please, give us something that makes us to cry, because that's what we expect to have a church to cry for no reason, for any reason." We said, "Petition, well, Pastor, there's a problem here. We don't cry anymore. There's something, maybe the Holy Spirit has left us because we don't cry anymore." So those are the type of people that we have to reach with our message. And also in the church environment, there is a lot of emphasis on the individual story. I come to God and I give all of my questions and I give all of my problems to Him, and I expect Him to answer directly to me, and it's got nothing or very little to do with the collective that we have. Those are the people that we find in the church, and those are the people that we find even outside of the church, in the secular world. That's what we're being told, and that's what we're consuming. And if we are conscious people, we have to challenge that, because that breeds selfishness. In the church, it's no more about God dealing with you for the sake of others. In the Bible that we read and we live in and we don't want to part with, the whole Bible is about God dealing with an individual, but not for himself or herself, but for the collective, for other people. But in the church, we are more taught about how to be mentally strong so that you can go out there and fend for yourself, and it has little to do with other people. So, in church especially, there was a time when we felt it's too much. In fact, I think at this point as well, that people feel that, no, this thing of black pain, and it's fine once a month or once in a while, but not every Sunday. And I said to them that if we feel uncomfortable about this and deal with things superficially, we're going to prescribe the wrong treatment. We're going to prescribe the wrong treatment. In medical school, just to let you know, whether it says any bearing, that's more important than anything, I'm a medical doctor. I studied at UCT, and I now work at Crossroads Day Hospital as an HIV medical officer. So some of the examples I will make reflect the kind of work that I do. So in medical school, they told us the story of a medical student. It was exam time, so it was clinical. So we had a patient, a male patient here, and then the examiner comes and says, "Doctor," they call you doctor all the time. When they do that, you must know that something is a trick. So the examiner comes and says, "Doctor, I would like for you to focus on the cardiovascular system. Now, the cardiovascular system is the heart and all the blood vessels that carry blood throughout the body. Now, it turns out blood vessels and nerves are the same thing with tongue. And everybody in the township is sick of good tongue. Mostly here. It's here, no tongue. And then there's a hole in between your shoulder blades. It's for you'll experience that when you go to the township. Everybody in the township is sick of umtambo, the neck, and also a hole in between their shoulder blades. So the examiner says, please doctor, do the examination and then I'll come back. I'll leave you to it and then I'll come back. Now the medical student cut corners, did whatever he thought he needed to do, and then said, okay, I'm done. Then the examiner comes back and says, doctor, what can you tell me about the pulses of this patient? You know what the pulse is? It's when you feel a pulsation, usually here and everywhere else. So, and in the feet too. So he asked, what can you tell me? And then the student said, no, they're fine, good volume, everything is fine. And the examiner said, oh, okay, are you sure? Yes, the thing that you get told in the first one, that you must be confident, even if you don't know, just be confident. So the student says, yes, confidently, everything is fine. And then he says, show me how you palpate for pulses, how you do this examination, especially in the feet. And then they only removed the blanket and the sheets, only to find that the patient had no feet and no legs. It was amputated. So this is the same thing. For us as black people, we need to get deep and down to our situation before we could prescribe the treatment. Otherwise, we're going to prescribe the wrong treatment. And some of the treatment that we prescribe, especially Christians, is religion. And it doesn't hit it. It doesn't go where it is necessary because we have not thoroughly examined our situation. I want to read from the book of Philippians in the Bible. Where is that brother from Nigeria who asked? Okay, we're using this book for now, because that's what we have, but we start vetting, we're using it for our own advantage. Now, let's read Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And I went on to say, analyze this. Says, anybody of you watched the movie by, what's that one? Where's that movie? Pastor Kenji, go back a little bit. Analyze this by, what's this guy now?
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro and that's the psychiatrist, Bill Crystal. Has anyone, have you watched that movie? Really? How?
It's on the list.
Huh?
It's on the list.
It's on the list. No, because I didn't tweet about blacks. It's just funny. It's about Italians and mafias and stuff, but it was nice. So the name of the movie is Analyze. So I wanted to bring that to us as people who are conscious, as Christians, if they are any here, to analyze this. Now I want to submit to you that, especially to us who are going to become black professionals and work with people who feel the sting of black pain the most. We all feel black pain, but there are some of us who feel the sting much more. And I find that those of us who have been to university, who have good jobs, and who have worked hard, feel that if I could do it, why can't you? There are some black professionals who say, there's nothing wrong with black people. There's nothing like black pain. All that there is, black people are lazy. I wanted to make an appeal to us so that when we went out there, because I said when I sent a message to Kali that we are on our own. No one is going to help us except us. And if we don't understand the history and we're not sympathetic to our own history, we are not going to be of any help to ourselves. In childhood development, when you study, especially in medical school, they will say a child is born and at 3 months you expect them. You know, because when you hold a child, if you've ever held a small child, if you hold them with the face up and you hold them by their back, the head tends to lag. But by 3 months, that shouldn't be happening. You expect that their neck is strong and able to hold the head. And if it's not happening, you should start to worry. By 6 months, the child should be sitting maybe with some support. Have you seen that? By 9 months, they should be starting to walk and holding on to stuff. And if that is not happening, you should start to worry. Now, if a child then grows and somehow encounters some illness, and most of the time in our setting, South Africa, which is a developed country, but at the same time a developing country, most of the 2 illnesses that hit hard babies or toddlers is the issue of gastroenteritis, that is diarrheal diseases, and respiratory illnesses is food. Yeah, you agree? So, if a child somehow encounters either of those 2 or any other thing, an acute illness, what does the child do? They regress. Instead of going ahead and start to walk, and start to run, and start to say things with their mouth, then they regress. If they were walking, then they would sit down. If they were already maybe crawling, then they would lie flat on their belly. That is what has happened to us as white people. Let us be sympathetic to that. We are not mentally retarded, or we are not lazy. That is what has happened. We were growing beautifully and progressing and developing, but something acute happened to us. And so we did what? We regressed. Let us appreciate that. Let us be sympathetic. When you see a black person doing stuff, know that they are like a child who has regressed, who was growing as they should, but something happened. And also, we must know that our lives as individuals are connected to one another as the group. Church in August, I was thinking about this thing because we had a conversation with one of our church members who told us that the church member says, one of my colleagues at Mac has sat his mother down and said, Mama, from henceforth, I'm not going to give you money at the end of the month. We do that as black people. We give money to parents. We do, you must do it.
Yeah.
You must do it. It's right. It's holy. It's holy. So this guy sat his mother down and said, Mama, I'm not going to give you money henceforth because I've got my own family and I've got my own business to take care of. Now, that colleague is right. They are within their rights. But you must understand that something happened. We've got not a friend, a white person that we know. He says that he puts ridiculous amount of money, like 10,000 rand for retirement, by himself, besides what he gets from church. The church puts 5,000 rand, and he himself puts 10,000 rand aside for retirement. Now, that doesn't usually happen with black people. And so, this other guy, he himself has so much put aside, he has even put for his grandchildren. He saved up for his grandchildren. But in our case, because we have regressed in milestones, milestones are if a child is growing, like I have just explained to you, because we have regressed in milestones, we find that if you become a professional or get to work anyway, then you have to provide for yourself and provide for your parents. Can you see how it is twisted? So this guy is coming to his mother to say, Mama, I will not be sending you money anymore. But he's not sympathetic to what has happened. Because this parent, if things were going the way they should be, if the whole family line was achieving milestones as they should be, they should have saved up for themselves, for retirement, and have saved up for their children, and even sometimes for their grandchildren. But that's not how it is with black people. So we cannot afford when we leave UCT and buy the latest BMW or whatever. Any of these things that we think mean success, we cannot do that because we are not going to be able to support our families. And in that way, that pain continues. We live for ourselves. Now, in a setting I'm trying to describe the disorganized state of our lives as black people. Where I work, I had a patient. It's not him, it's just a picture. I wouldn't out my patients like that. I had a patient, and I was so fortunate that I had had the things that I had in the way of life. And so when this was happening, I could just analyze it. I had the tools. This guy, I see him for the very first time. He is with his brother, who works as a driver, often drives to Limpopo, long distances. This guy is so sick. He's got TB, he's got HIV, he also has something called sarcoma, a cancer that you mostly find in HIV positive patients. He's so sick, he's hopeless, but he's not sick enough for me to refer him to a hospital. But he's sick, needing just tender care, tender loving care. He needs someone to look after him and cook for him and watch him and take him to get his medication, whether it's for HIV or TB. And then I tried to do this, and then ultimately he has to go home. I do not know what happened to me because I could not do anything further than that. Then he comes 2 months later or something, and then he tells me his story. And because I have come to way of life and I've heard the things that I have said, I just have tools to work with this patient. He tells me that this often happens. You will meet it when you go and work out of it. We call it defaulting. You're told this is your condition, you have high blood pressure, or you've got diabetes, or you've got TB, or you've got whatever, and therefore you need to be on medication for a prolonged period of time. A lot of our patients default. Where you work, and there are black people, there is a high default rate. High. It's frustrating. Where I work, there is people here who are here because it's their appointment. And there is people who come because it's not their appointment, but they are sick, they've missed dates and everything. Now, under normal circumstances, if our systems were working, you'll find this queue is longer because people are organized. They come on time, they know what they're doing. But where I work, this queue is the longest. People are disorganized. Now, this guy was sitting in that queue, comes to me and says, hey, look, the reason why this is the story of my life. I went to the Eastern Cape for a funeral. This is the story of everybody who's black. They go to Eastern Cape for whatever reason, and there is no plan to come back. It's a single ticket. He goes to the Eastern Cape for a funeral of his mother. He has no plan how he's going to come back. He just went for a funeral. When he gets there, they tell him, no, listen, my brother, you're going to have to stay here and look after the, what you call it, the household, whatever. You have to. And these people are powerful than him because they've got money and he does not have. So they will not give him money to go back to Cape Town. They say, you must stay there. Your mother is dead. Who is going to look after this household? So he's now forced to stay. In the meantime, he's defaulting his HIV, his TB treatment, and his cancer treatment. He stays there. He has no power. Nobody's going to give him money to come back. And so he sits and then comes up with a plan. He must go dinner. What is to dinner in English?
Make bricks.
He's going to go and make mud bricks for someone. You know, most of the rural areas, this is the kind of material they use to build houses. So he does this and gets paid. That money is just enough to get him on something to Cape Town, back to Cape Town. Now, if I am a black professional who is not conscious, who is not appreciative of the story of this, because this person needs not to be in Cape Town. Not that I mean it as Zilla needs it. That black people must stay in the extent that they shouldn't come here. Not that, but they don't, black people need not to be in places where they are far from their families and go to search for work elsewhere. They had their own system going on. They were farming the land, they were doing whatever. That was working for them, but something acute happens and disrupts the whole system that we had that was working for us. So this guy ends up in Cape Town and then goes on to say, and I said, okay, my brother, we're doing well. And the more I see him, and I was fortunate to see him not just once, I would, it would just be a coincidence that I see him over and over. And the more I see him, the more I see him put effort in the way he dresses. He's cleaner. I'm not saying I did that, but I would like to believe that I had something to do with it. It's easy to do that thing. So I would like to believe that, because I see sometimes I ask students, hey my brother, what can we do? And immediately I say that patients start to take charge of their lives, and then now they think. So I said, every time I see him, he's washed, he's put some effort in how he's dressed, because he feels like a human again. Because if you are not conscious, you're going to say, black people, nothing's going to ever help them. They are lazy, they are subhuman. But if you come to this church or anywhere else, you are conscientized, you begin to appreciate why is it that we are so disorganized. So now I say, okay, my brother, you're doing well with TB, you're doing well with care of this. Now we need to deal with this cancer you have in your legs. He says, no, my sister, I understand. Don't send me right away now. Don't send me. So you can see that he's beginning to make plans. He's not just doing whatever he's told to do. He said, don't send me now, because I have to go, and I've got a garden that I usually work in, I don't know, somewhere far. And then I get given them 200 rands and some groceries. So if I think in 2 weeks time I'll be able to go there and get this 200 rands, because the last time I went to Kutescale, because the patients that are completed in 7, the last time I went there, I was taken there by an ambulance, and then when I was discharged, there was no ambulance. And it frustrates black people. Because when they are very sick, they are taken by an ambulance to a big hospital, but when they get discharged, it's like, black person, you're on your own. Okay? So when he was discharged the first time he went to Kutescale, he had to take a train without a ticket, and the guards found them and chased them. And he was almost hit by a train. So he's very aware of that, and he doesn't want to go through that. And I said, okay, my brother, I understand. You come back to me when you've got that 200 rand, and then we will refer you to Kutescale. Can you appreciate the disorder and the disorganization in such a way of what happens with black lives and why we turn out the way we do? Now, this is the other scenario that happens where we are. Patients will give the medication, you've sorted them, then they go. Then they come back and make that queue longer. The queue that you don't, when you come to work, you're thinking, oh, my day is going to be long. Because that queue should be made up of few people, but this is the longest queue. Some of those people are sitting there, and the reason why they're there, they were going to work one morning, and some drug addict took their bag that has their medication. And now they're here again before their appointment date because they don't have any more medication. And some of these people, they use the ARVs for, what do you call this thing? Once we watched a documentary, I think it was before your time, since you don't even know this movie, I realize this. I think it was a long time ago before you could watch movies. This is the move to the next slide, Mr. KG. Is Captain Life. This is the other thing that happens in our black townships at schools. This woman says, I struggle financially, I do. And she counts that I have to give my grandchildren some money to carry to school, but I don't care. I hate that thing. Who came up with that idea? Because it's too expensive. You must make lunch box at home for your children. But this care business is too expensive, and people are getting into more and more trouble financially because they have to do this thing. And I'm asking, Mama, why aren't you making lunch for this child at home? He says, if you give your child lunch and put it in a box for your child at school, they go to, what is to clean? They just want to take it. The others are just going to take it. So it's not safe to give your child what you think is good for them. Because when they get to school, it's just, I saw that at our church. Kids were given food, but obviously it was not enough for them. The boys started to do this, and I hated it. It's values of poverty. So this is the other thing that I do. The next slide, Mr. KG. The next one. Next one. No. This is the other thing that I do. Because I am conscientized. There are security guards, and a lot of black people as security guards. Now, this is because black people are disenfranchised. Did I pronounce it right? They are powerless. They cannot negotiate their lives. If as a doctor or a nurse, whatever, you give an appointment to a black person and it doesn't suit them, they will not say, tell you, you just take it. And then they default. They will not, because they cannot negotiate their lives. They don't negotiate it as well. Their bosses don't want them to come to anything. They just want them to be, at work, come rain or sunshine. Black people do not negotiate anything. I don't either. Honestly, I'm black through and through. I don't negotiate. I find it very hard to negotiate. I'm a professional, but I find it I get embarrassed when I'm with my sister. My sister, she negotiates everything. I get embarrassed. My sister will go to her and more. They will do the hairstyle and she will look at it and she will say, I don't like it. You have to undo it. But she's paid. It may be extreme or whatever, but I'm trying to display or to you that the black people do not negotiate anything. They will just take whatever they are given and be thankful. So at work, if you give an appointment to a black person and it doesn't suit them, it doesn't work for them, they will take it and go, never come back, and come back when they're very sick and sit on the pew. But if you're a conscious professional, you will then, this is what I do, honestly, this is what I do with security guards. I say, okay, my brother, I'm going to give you the 25th of whatever. It's on a Thursday. Will that work for you? And mind you, if I just give it, he is not going to contest anything. But when I ask, he's going to say, hey, my sister, let me check. Then he takes out his roster, puts it in front of me. Or if he doesn't have it, I've got a calendar. And then together we do this. Off, night, day. Can you understand what we're doing? Do you understand? We went out, we working such that the appointment that I'm giving him suits his work schedule. We sit there together and we go day, 4 days, and then night. And then we say, they get me right. Different from the date that I have given him. As I close, we once watched a movie, not a movie, documentaries. I can't remember the year, but it was around 2000 and something. I honestly don't know. But it was documentaries time. I think it was a 3-part series. I think they released 2, and then the third one, I think they pulled it back, censored. And in that documentary, it said that the economy of this country, economically, that was then, this is what it is made up of. 5% are white people, mostly, and a few black people. And then 20% is black middle class, whatever the definition is. Is there black middle class in South Africa, according to international definitions? But we are called that. And it makes us feel good. The people that use credit cards, the people that live hand to mouth, you shouldn't be living from hand to mouth if you are a middle class. And yet that's what happens to us. You have a credit card and you've got an overdraft revolving. You must be crazy. You will be crazy. When you have a revolving credit card and revolving overdraft, you put money, then you take it, you use it, you don't have any left. So they said that 20% is made up of us. People who live on credit cards, people who buy houses who don't afford, and cars who don't afford or credit. It's us. It makes us feel good because we are called to black diamonds. 20%. And then 20 plus 5, what's left? About that much is made up of people. People who cannot negotiate their lives, who have nothing, who have no stake in their own lives. Those people have nothing to lose. That's why there's a lot of crime amongst us. We have nothing to lose. What do you have to lose? What do you have to gain? Maybe you gain something if you do crime. But as far as losing something, you will lose nothing. I also had a patient who had a big head with infection and all of that. Because this guy was busy doing something he shouldn't be doing. some house and he was caught. And then he managed to run away. Went to his house and lived and stayed there for the whole week. And he sustained a cat. But by the end of the week, that cat had first died and it was infected. And so he comes now with the police because now he was caught doing some other crime on top of, you know what I'm saying? What kind of a person does that? Someone who does not have anything to lose. You do crime, you sustain a scratch, it gets infected, you stay home, you don't go for help. And instead you go into another crime and then you're caught by the police. The police are bringing you for help, for medical help, because he has nothing to lose. So 70% about is made up of those people who have nothing to lose, who will do anything. Because it doesn't matter. If I do right, it doesn't matter. So we watched this documentary and it said that is the situation right now. It should make us mad, and that's what is happening. So it went on to say that in the design of the all supreme white people in South Africa, the Eastern Cape was designed not to work. It was designed, it's not by chance. It's not because there are some people who don't have brains. It was designed not to work. You know why? So that the black people there, and I think everywhere else, the black people that sit and get frustrated because things don't work and are forced to come to Cape Town and all of these big cities and become cheap labor. I met a man once in one of the places I work who told me a story. He was king, his name was king, and he told me that no, that would go back. Because he came as a boss, and now things couldn't work for boss, but things were working for a king, so he became a king. The surname, he changed his surname. He told me a sad story offered by one person to sell milk, you know, in a cart or something, and he was paid with a bottle of milk and some. Anyway, that was his pay for the day. A full-grown man with a family. So that's what happened. Eastern Cape is designed not to work, so that people get frustrated, and then they go to Cape Town and they go to Joburg to look for work, and they will take anything. Because they are frustrated. My own father was born in 1929. He used to tell us a story that if you are a young man in the Eastern Cape, and then you go to the bush and become initiated, you have to go to Johannesburg mostly, to go and work for impartial initiate. You know, the young initiate. They've got a certain kind of, you know, gear that they wear, but you're not going to have money enough to change those clothes, so you must go to Joburg. Yeah, but do you know this thing? What's that called?
It's a carbon that includes.
Yes.
Like agents.
By now.
Agents.
Yeah, agents. The Tatamando for
Person Koti.
It was, yes, it's an agent. The agents, that recruits young black men from the Eastern Cape mostly and takes them to Marikana as well, to work in the mines for next to nothing. There was a song that when
no, I just
But that is the story of our lives, people. Eastern Cape is not working because it's not working because it was designed. It is difficult now to bring the Eastern Cape back on its feet. And so are the lives of all of us as black people are disrupted. Therefore, we are regressed and milestones. So we're not going forward. So it requires for us as people who feel conscious. When we leave university and become I mean, I had a colleague who said, you know, I've lost all hope, and he's one of those people who feel very accomplished, and he thinks he's doing it on his own. None of us are doing it on our own. I will cover this later on. None of us are doing it on our own. And whatever job you have, don't think that you worked hard for it. No. The system allows a few, and you're part of that few. And it's a huge thing that takes our eyes off the ball. You think that man plays to get Socio-economic? No, who writes A1? It's a huge thing that takes our eyes off the ball. That, I don't know, there was a thing that was going around in black circles that if a man can do it, did it, so can I did it. We will not did it. We will not. We will not. So, being sympathetic, black people, to our history that is disrupted. And that's why we think that God is organized. Maybe we will not reap today. Maybe we are the generation that sows. And maybe generations after us will reap. So let us take some time. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions or reactions with the things that I've said here. They're not absolutes, it's just my experience. Anybody?
We thank you for the space that somewhat reminds us that we exist. We thank you for allowing ourselves to be conscious and the willingness to engage with black pain.